Soviet peasants with a radio. From 1928. For many in rural Russia, radio broadcasts were their first connection to distant voices and global news, marking a leap in communication. Hiroshima mushroom cloud. From August 6, 1945. Captured shortly after detonation. This view shows the massive mushroom cloud rising over Hiroshima in one of the earliest photographs of the atomic age. Eiffel Tower, under construction. From July 1888, captured midway through its assembly, the tower would be completed the following year for the Paris World's Fair. Vincent van Gogh, from 1886, only a handful of images of the painter exist, making this portrait one of the few visual records of his life outside of self-portraits. Liberation of Auschwitz. From 1945. Survivors celebrate as the Red Army liberates Auschwitz, one of history's most infamous death camps. Titanic survivors in a lifeboat. From 1912. A haunting image of survivors adrift after the Titanic's sinking, moments before their rescue. Back of Hoover Dam. From 1936. Photographed before Lake Mead filled, the massive scale of the Hoover Dam's rear face is fully visible, a view that disappeared forever once the waters rose. The Hassanlu lovers, from circa 800 BC, discovered in 1972, the two skeletons died locked in an embrace, preserved for nearly 2,800 years beneath the ruins of Hassanlu in Iran. The Nine Kings of Europe. From 1910. 9 reigning monarchs gathered for the funeral of King Edward VII in London, the only time they were photographed together before World War I. Cincinnati Public Library. From 1874 to 1955. The library's soaring cast-iron shelves once held thousands of volumes. Demolished in 1955, the site is now a parking lot and office building. Ronald Reagan testifying. From 1947. Before his presidency, Reagan appeared before the House Un-American Activities Committee. Photos of him in glasses are especially uncommon. Mobsters at Al Capone's trial. From 1931. In a courtroom packed with witnesses, many shielded their identities with hats to avoid being recognized by photographers. Sonny Liston and George Foreman. From the late 1960s. An older Liston spars with a young Foreman, two heavyweight champions whose boxing legacies briefly overlapped in this rare meeting. B-17 bombardier over Germany. From the 1940s, color photography was uncommon in combat zones, making this candid shot of a bombardier mid-mission a unique wartime record. Apache warrior with Evans rifle. From 1880. The Evans repeating rifle could hold up to 34 rounds, a technological marvel for its time, giving warriors a significant advantage. Adolf Hitler with Italian officials. From August 1939. Hitler is rarely seen wearing a white uniform, photographed here just weeks before the outbreak of World War II. Emperor Hirohito of Japan. From the late 1930s. The emperor was almost always depicted with a serious expression. Photographs of him smiling are extremely uncommon. Nikola Tesla's funeral. From 1943. Tesla's casket was draped with the flags of both the United States and Yugoslavia, reflecting his legacy across two nations. Franklin D. Roosevelt with Eleanor Roosevelt and Madame Chiang Kai-shek. From 1943. Photographs of FDR standing are uncommon, as he was rarely seen upright due to polio. He used a cane and aid for balance on this occasion. Old Spice. Wake up to Old Spice. One whiff, and you were sailing the open seas, or at least yelling at kids to turn off the light. Masculinity in a bottle. Pow! The humble beginnings. In 18th century Naples. In the crowded alleys of Naples, pizza emerged as a poor man's food, cheap, filling, and sold directly on the streets. Street vendors and mobile ovens. Early pizza sellers walked the streets with stoves balanced on their heads or pushed carts, serving hot slices directly to passers-by. Pizza for the people, a working-class staple. Pizza was never aristocratic. It was the food of dock workers, laundresses, and laborers who ate quickly and often with their hands. Oggi a 8. Pizza on credit. Some pizzerias let customers eat now and pay 8 days later, a custom known as Oggi a 8, reflecting the poverty of 19th century Naples. A lady and her lamps. One woman, many lights, none electric. each lamp a tool, a treasure, and sometimes a little piece of survival. By Candle and Mirror, Petrus van Schendel. Two girls, one reading, one gazing, both lit by the same soft flame. The mirror doesn't lie. The night was slow and still. Fetching life, one can at a time. Water didn't come from a tap, it came from a walk. A woman and her daughter carrying tomorrow's cooking, cleaning, and drinking. The weight of wrinkle-free. No steam button, no cord, just a hot hunk of metal and hours of careful, back-breaking smoothing. Bath time was a boil. When a hot bath meant hauling water and heating it pot by pot, men like this made do with whatever vessel could hold the heat. The wash was work. No spin cycle, no rinse button, just raw hands, soap, and water. Washing clothes was a full-body effort. Horsepower meant horse. A day's labor in the field, side by side with animals that didn't take breaks or burn gas, just hay, muscle, and grit. The daily life. Every meal came from real flame. Timing was instinct, temperature was guessed, and dinner still tasted like home. When the radio was magic. No screens, just two men, one radio, and voices from somewhere else, crackling, ghostly, and utterly mesmerizing. Dinner in the dark. A kerosene lamp, a quiet table. Conversation was the evening entertainment, and the glow was just enough to see each other. Where life began and ended each day. A modest home in a rural setting, no switches to flip, no wires in the walls, just walls, warmth, and work. The original commute. Getting by on a horse wasn't a lifestyle choice, it was the only way to move through the world. Rain or shine, hoofs carried life forward. Virginia Hall. Virginia Hall, an American spy with a prosthetic leg, worked for the OSS and SOE, becoming one of the most dangerous Allied agents behind Nazi lines. Operation Fortitude, World War II. Operation Fortitude used fake armies and radio traffic to mislead the Nazis about the location of the D-Day invasion. Venona Project. The Venona Project uncovered Soviet espionage in the United States during and after World War II by decrypting secret Soviet communications. OSS, predecessor to the CIA. The Office of Strategic Services, OSS, was created during World War II to conduct espionage, sabotage, and psychological warfare. It later evolved into the CIA. KGB, Lubyanka Building. The KGB was the main security agency for the Soviet Union and a global leader in Cold War espionage operations. Tokyo Rose. Tokyo Rose was the name Allied troops gave to English-speaking women who broadcast Japanese propaganda during World War II. Cold War Russian spycraft. The KGB built a vast global network of spies, shaping decades of geopolitical tension. Stasi surveillance, East Germany. The Stasi, East Germany's secret police, kept detailed files on millions of citizens, using intense surveillance and informants. Spy pigeons in World War I and World War II. Pigeons were used to carry secret messages and even tiny cameras, playing a silent role in aerial espionage. Enigma machine. The German Enigma machine encrypted military messages until Allied codebreakers, led by Alan Turing at Bletchley Park, cracked its code. Steel on the battlefield. The A7-Volt Sturmpanzer, World War I. Germany's answer to trench warfare, slow, loud, and terrifying up close. Feeding peace. A Soviet sailor feeds pigeons in Trafalgar Square, London, 1956. East and West met, briefly, over crumbs and cooing. Faces of resistance. White demonstrators at the Civil Rights March, Washington, August 1963. A reminder that not everyone stood on the right side of history. The end is near. German soldiers captured by the United States 2nd Armored Division near Lemgo, April 1945. The Corinthian find. Spanish archaeologist Manuel Esteve, in 1938, proudly wearing the Corinthian helmet he uncovered. Discovery, worn with loud pride. Comfort in a ruined land. German soldiers comforting a child. Poland, 1939. Strange friendships. A dog and cat in 1930s Paris. Not everything was revolution and war. Some days were just quiet, curious company. Before dogfights and bombers. Aviation in Britain before World War I, when flying was still experimental and dangerous. Voices by wire. Women working the switchboard in Wallace, Idaho, 1928. Their fingers connected towns, families, and entire lifelines, one call at a time. Dundee in the drizzle. Street scene, Dundee, 1959. A city caught between post-war recovery and a future not yet defined. Monkey at the trial. Washington, D.C., 1923. Jock the monkey sits in for the Scopes trial verdict. Part mascot, part mirror to a strange moment in history. Heavy metal dreams. Chester E. McDuffie stands beside his 250-kilo diving suit in 1911, a marvel of early engineering, built more for courage than comfort. Before the storm struck. Tornado Funnel St. Cloud, Minnesota, 1909. Tea after the Blitz. A woman sips tea in London, 1940, just hours after German bombs fell. The ritual remained, even when the walls didn't. Brothers on the Steps. Pecco and Tama, 1894. Sitting on worn steps, they meet the camera with the kind of stillness only hard times teach. Ironclad from Another Shore. The CSS Stonewall, built in France in 1864 for the Confederate Navy. A 1,390-ton ship, it never fired a shot in the war it was meant for. The Queen Mary's final mission, bring them home. The Queen Mary, bringing American soldiers back home after the end of World War II, 1945. 7 sons, 1 mother, endless grief. A Soviet woman who lost 7 sons during World War II. Chicago's short-lived Roman tribute. This was Chicago in 1893. The peristyle, built for the World's Fair, measured 500 feet in length and 50 feet in height, with its massive columns representing the different states and territories. Thousands of coats, 1 wild sale. This is Danish clothier Christian Troelstrup, and the building he covered with over 1,000 coats to attract buyers, 1936. A bullet to the brain. And he lived. Civil War veteran Jacob Miller was shot right between the eyes. From September 19, 1863, to his death more than 5 decades later, he lived with an open wound in his forehead. A nickel from a billionaire. Billionaire John D. Rockefeller gives a nickel to a child on his 84th birthday in 1923. Tennis, altitude 3,000 feet. Gladys Roy and Ivan Unger, playing tennis on top of a plane flying at 3,000 feet in November 1925. Love Across a Wall. Residents of West Berlin show children to their grandparents who reside on the eastern side, 1961. The Man Who Refused. A lone man refusing to do the Nazi salute, 1936. The moment sound came alive. Harold Whittle's hearing sound for the first time, 1974. Tesla, unplugged. Nikola Tesla sitting in his laboratory with his magnifying transmitter. One girl versus a mob. Dorothy Counts, the first black girl to attend an all-white school in the United States, being teased by her white male peers at Charlotte's Harry Harding High School, 1957. They tried to tackle her mid-race. Organizers trying to prevent Catherine Switzer from competing in the Boston Marathon. She was the first woman to finish the degree, 1967. First stop, the future. The first subway trip, London, 1862. Ice cave. Party of None. Grotto in an iceberg photographed on the British expedition to Antarctica, 1911. Too much leg? That'll cost you. Measuring women's swimsuits. If they were too short, women were fined, 1920s. War machine relic. Civilians inspect the remains from a Japanese battleship, one of the largest ever built. Bison skulls. Two workers atop a towering heap of buffalo bones. Atocha shipwreck treasure. The Spanish galleon, Nuestra Señora de Atocha, sank in 1622. Mel Fisher recovered much of the treasure in 1985, but more is believed lost. Oak Island mystery. A centuries-old pit in Nova Scotia rumored to hold pirate treasure, but every excavation ends in mystery. Yamashita's gold. Rumored World War II loot hidden by Japanese forces in the Philippines, with no verified recovery. The Copper Scroll treasure. A Dead Sea Scroll listing massive hoards of gold and silver in 64 locations. None have been found. San Jose Galeon. A Spanish treasure ship sunk in 1708 off Colombia, believed to carry billions in gold and jewels, located in 2015, but not yet salvaged. The Amber Room. A masterpiece of amber panels and gold stolen by the Germans during World War II. Its fate remains a mystery. Staffordshire hoard. Over 3,500 Anglo-Saxon gold and silver items found in a farmer's field in 2009, the largest of its kind. Antikythera shipwreck. A Roman-era wreck-off, famous for the Antikythera mechanism and other treasures since 1900, is in ongoing recovery. Treasure of Lima. Pirate loot said to be hidden on Cocos Island, Costa Rica. Multiple expeditions have failed to find it. Lost Dutchman's gold mine. A legendary gold mine hidden in Arizona's Superstition Mountains, with no confirmed discovery. Forest Fen treasure hunt. In 2020, a chest of gold and jewels hidden by art dealer Forrest Fenn in the Rocky Mountains was finally found after a decade-long search. The Flor de la Mar shipwreck. A Portuguese ship carrying a vast treasure sank in 1511 off Sumatra. The riches remain missing. Beale ciphers treasure. 3 coded messages supposedly leading to buried gold and silver in Virginia, unsolved to this day. SS. Central America gold. This 1857 shipwreck, known as the Ship of Gold, yielded tons of gold coins when discovered in 1988. Victorio Peak gold. Alleged massive gold stash in New Mexico's desert caves. Government restrictions have stopped searches. 3 friends in Seattle dreamed big in 1971. Jerry Baldwin, Gordon Bowker, and Zev Siegel opened a small shop selling coffee beans and equipment. Nobody knew this little store would change coffee forever.